If you woke up today, take a moment. This thank you prayer is for you. Don't scroll, stop right here. Because this moment was not random and this message is not for everyone. It's for you, the one whose heart has been quietly carrying more than anyone knows. The one who woke up today feeling something heavy but couldn't quite explain it. The one who keeps showing up even when life hasn't been gentle lately. Listen to this because your spirit needs it right now. On this Wednesday, January 14th, 2026, something sacred is happening in the unseen realm, and before the world demands anything from you, heaven is asking you to pause, breathe, and receive, because God is closer than you think and gratitude is about to unlock a door you've been standing in front of for longer than you realize. And even if you don't feel ready, even if you feel tired, confused, or emotionally worn down, this is still your moment, because God doesn't wait for you to be perfect. He waits for you to be present, and right now, your presence here is already obedience. This is a divine interruption, a holy pause, a reminder that your life has meaning even on the days that feel ordinary, that your survival itself is evidence of grace. And before you rush into fixing, chasing, or proving anything, God says, come to me with gratitude first. Because gratitude shifts the atmosphere, it softens the heart, it calms the nervous system, and it reminds your soul that you are still held, still guided, still protected, even when answers haven't arrived yet. Today's prayer is not about pretending everything is okay. It's about thanking God even while you're still healing, thanking Him even while you're still waiting, thanking Him even while your heart is learning how to trust again, because there is power in saying thank you when circumstances haven't caught up to the promise yet. And if you've been feeling out of sync lately, seeing repeating numbers, waking up at odd hours, feeling emotional for no clear reason, that's not weakness. That's awakening. That's your spirit becoming more sensitive to what God is doing behind the scenes. And right now, He wants you to know that you are not forgotten, you are not late, and you are not being punished by delay. Everything you thought was falling apart was actually being rearranged for alignment. And the reason this message feels personal is because it is. Because God speaks in whispers to hearts that are listening. And if you're still here, still breathing, still hoping, even quietly, that means your story isn't over. It's just entering a chapter that requires a softer heart and a stronger faith. And today, before miracles manifest, before breakthroughs become visible, before connections are restored or soulmate energy aligns, God is asking you to start with gratitude. Not the loud kind, not the forced kind, but the deep, trembling gratitude that says, thank you for keeping me when I didn't know how to keep myself. Thank you for protecting me from paths I begged for but couldn't see clearly at the time. Thank you for waking me up again today when so many nights I went to sleep unsure if I had the strength to face another morning. Thank you for the quiet lessons, the painful growth, the emotional stretching that taught me discernment instead of desperation, wisdom instead of impulse, and peace instead of chaos. This is the kind of gratitude that heals timelines, that releases ancestral weight, that tells the universe you are ready to receive more without losing yourself. And right now, even as you listen, something is loosening inside you, something heavy is lifting. Something long held is finally being acknowledged, because gratitude brings you back into alignment with who you truly are. Not who pain shaped you to be, not who survival forced you to become, but who God originally designed you to be before disappointment tried to rewrite your identity. And if your heart feels tender right now, that's okay, because tenderness is not weakness. It's openness. And openness is how miracles enter, and today's prayer is planting a seed that will begin to grow quietly but powerfully, affecting your emotions, your decisions, your relationships, and even the timing of things you've been praying about. Because when gratitude rises, resistance falls, and God says, when you thank me in advance, you show me you trust me with the outcome. And trust is what turns waiting into preparation instead of suffering. So stay here, don't rush past this moment. Let this prayer sink into places words usually can't reach, because this is only the beginning, and what comes next will speak directly to the thing you haven't told anyone out loud yet. Listen closely, because what you're feeling right now is not imagination, it's alignment, and the reason your heart feels both calm and alert at the same time is because gratitude has just shifted something in the spiritual atmosphere around you. And when the atmosphere changes, outcomes begin to follow, even if you can't see them yet, because God works in layers, not in flashes, and right now He's working in the unseen, weaving together moments, people, timing, and opportunities that will suddenly make sense when they arrive. And this is why you've been seeing signs lately, small but persistent confirmations that keep showing up when you least expect them. Repeating numbers like 111 when you're questioning your path, 222 when you're doubting your decisions, 333 when you're feeling lonely, 444 when fear tries to creep in. These are not coincidences, they are spiritual reassurance, gentle reminders that you are being guided, protected, and corrected in real time. And God wants you to know that gratitude is the signal that tells the universe you're ready to receive without resistance. Because when you complain, you block. But when you thank, you open. And today your openness is allowing destiny to move closer instead of staying delayed. The waiting you've endured was never punishment, it was positioning. Because certain blessings require emotional maturity, spiritual awareness, and inner peace before they can safely arrive. And God has been using this season to refine your heart, not to break it, to deepen your discernment, not to harden you. And even though there were nights you questioned everything, your choices, your worth, your timing, God never questioned His plan for you, not once. And right now He's saying, I'm proud of how you stayed soft in a world that tried to make you bitter. Because softness kept your spirit flexible enough to be guided, and flexibility is how destiny adjusts without breaking you. You may not realize it yet, but the people who walked away created space for the right connections to enter, the doors that closed protected you from settling, and the silence you endured trained you to hear God's voice more clearly than noise ever could. And now gratitude is turning all of that into momentum. Because when you thank God for what didn't work out, you release emotional residue that was holding you back from what will. And something important is about to shift in your daily life. Not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily, quietly, undeniably. And you'll notice it first in your thoughts, how fear no longer speaks as loudly, how hope feels safer again, how your intuition sharpens, how you begin to trust your inner knowing instead of second-guessing it. Because gratitude restores self-trust, and self-trust is how divine guidance flows smoothly instead of feeling forced. God says, I'm realigning your steps, which means even small decisions will start leading you in the right direction without effort. And you'll look back and realize that what felt random was actually intentional guidance. Because destiny doesn't always announce itself. It nudges, it whispers, it confirms. And lately you've been feeling those nudges more strongly, that urge to let go, that sense that something is ending even if nothing looks different yet, that quiet excitement mixed with nervous anticipation. And that's because you're standing at the edge of a transition, not the kind that shakes everything overnight, but the kind that slowly replaces struggle with stability, confusion with clarity, and exhaustion with renewed energy. And gratitude is the key. That allows you to cross over without dragging old pain with you. Today's prayer is sealing something in the spiritual realm. And even though you may still have unanswered questions, God is asking you to trust the direction more than the details. Because clarity comes after obedience, not before it. And your obedience right now is choosing gratitude over resentment, patience over panic, faith over fear. And that choice is louder in heaven than any spoken request. And as you continue thanking God, even for things you don't fully understand yet. You're telling the universe that you're no longer in survival mode, you're in receiving mode, and this shift will begin to reflect in your external world, in conversations that feel aligned, in opportunities that don't drain you, in emotional connections that feel mutual instead of forced, because destiny doesn't chase, it attracts, and gratitude is magnetic. Stay with this moment, don't rush past it, because what comes next will touch the part of your heart that's been waiting for confirmation that love, connection, and divine timing haven't passed you by, and the next part will speak directly to that. Now listen carefully, because this is where your heart starts to recognize itself in the message. This is where the ache you've been carrying quietly begins to make sense, because the reason love has felt complicated, delayed, or confusing for you is not because you're unlovable, but because God has been protecting your heart from connections that could not hold the depth of who you're becoming. And if you've ever wondered why you felt more alone in the wrong relationship than you did by yourself, this is your confirmation, because soulmates don't drain you, they reveal you, they don't compete with your peace, they multiply it, and right now God is saying, I had to heal you before I could align you. Because love that arrives too early becomes a lesson, but love that arrives on time becomes destiny. And the season you've been in, where old patterns surfaced, where abandonment wounds were triggered, where you questioned your worth or replayed conversations in your mind late at night. This wasn't regression, this was exposure, because healing doesn't happen by ignoring pain. It happens by finally feeling it in a safe space, and God created that space for you when He removed distractions, when He slowed things down, when He made you sit with yourself long enough to realize that you were never asking for too much, you were just asking the wrong people, and now your energy is changing. Your standards are softening without lowering, your heart is opening without bleeding, and this shift is exactly what allows soulmate alignment to begin. The universe responds to emotional readiness, not desperation, and lately you've noticed that you're no longer chasing validation the way you used to. You're no longer proving your worth through overgiving. You're no longer shrinking your needs to keep someone comfortable. And that's because God has been restoring your self-respect quietly, layer by layer, teaching you that love does not require suffering to be real. And this is why past connections had to fall away, not because they were evil, but because they were incomplete, and God will never send completion into a heart still tangled in unfinished emotional contracts, so He helped you close cycles, even when it hurt, even when you didn't understand. And now, as gratitude has softened your spirit and prophecy has activated your destiny, your love life is entering a new frequency. One where mutual effort feels natural, where communication feels safe, where silence doesn't trigger panic, and where presence feels grounding instead of overwhelming. This is soulmate energy, not fantasy, not obsession, not attachment, but recognition, the feeling of, I know you. Without explanation, the calm excitement that doesn't spike anxiety, the sense of being seen without being examined. And if you've been sensing someone energetically, thinking of them randomly, dreaming vividly, feeling emotional without a clear cause, that's not illusion, that's alignment beginning in the spiritual realm before manifestation in the physical. Because divine connections often start as resonance before introduction, and God says, I'm preparing both of you. Which means delays are happening on both sides for protection, healing, and timing. Not rejection. And this is why patience matters right now, because impatience would pull you back into old cycles, but trust will move you forward into a love that doesn't require explanation or performance. Gratitude is sealing emotional wounds you didn't even realize were still open, especially the ones tied to feeling chosen, prioritized, and emotionally safe. And as those wounds heal, your attraction patterns change automatically, which means you'll stop feeling chemistry with chaos and start feeling drawn to consistency. You'll stop confusing intensity with intimacy and start recognizing stability as romance. And this is the awakening you've been feeling. The moment where your heart finally catches up with your wisdom, and God wants you to know that your capacity to love deeply was never the problem. It was always the timing and the container. And now the container is being prepared, not rushed. Not forced, but aligned. The soulmate coming into your life will not need to fix you, because you're already whole. They will simply mirror the peace you've cultivated and expanded, and you'll know it's real because it won't activate fear, it will activate calm clarity. And right now God is asking you to keep your heart open without reopening old wounds, to stay receptive without settling, to trust signs without obsessing over outcomes. Because love is not something you chase. It's something you allow, and gratitude keeps you in the allowing state. And if you've been questioning whether you missed your chance, whether it's too late, whether you're behind compared to others, this is your reassurance. Divine timing does not operate on social timelines, it operates on soul readiness. And your soul is ready now in ways it wasn't before. And what's coming will not feel rushed, dramatic, or chaotic. It will feel intentional, steady, and emotionally safe, and this part of your story will make the waiting make sense. So stay present, stay grateful, and stay open, because what comes next will confirm everything you've been feeling but couldn't explain yet. Stay with this moment, because what's unfolding now is subtle but powerful, and the reason your chest feels warm or your eyes feel heavy is because truth is touching something deep inside you. Something that's been waiting patiently for reassurance, because divine reunions don't arrive with chaos or confusion. They arrive with clarity, and God wants you to understand that what's coming into your life is not random, rushed, or emotionally reckless. It's intentional, measured, and guided, and the season you're entering is not about proving love, chasing connection, or performing for validation. It's about recognition, resonance, and rest, because when a connection is divinely aligned, it doesn't exhaust you. It steadies you, and right now heaven is working behind the scenes to orchestrate meetings, conversations, and moments that feel simple on the surface but sacred in impact. And you may not notice it immediately, but soon you'll feel a shift in how you respond emotionally, how quickly you recover from triggers, how calmly you express your needs, and how confidently you walk away from anything that doesn't feel aligned. Because healing has already done its quiet work, and manifestation begins. When resistance ends, God says, "I'm removing confusion from your love life." And confusion is the first thing to go when destiny steps in, because divine love does not require decoding, mixed signals, or emotional guessing games. It feels clear even when it's still forming, and this is why the past had to hurt. It taught you discernment, it taught you boundaries, it taught you the difference between intensity and intention, and now your heart is finally calibrated correctly, able to recognize sacred connection without mistaking it for chaos. And when this reunion or new encounter begins to take shape, you'll notice how natural it feels, how conversation flows without effort, how silence doesn't create anxiety, how presence feels grounding instead of overwhelming, because divine love doesn't rush to impress, it arrives to align. You may already be sensing this person energetically, feeling a pull without obsession, a curiosity without desperation, a familiarity without history, and that's because soul connections often recognize each other before the mind catches up. And God is saying, trust the calm, because calm is the confirmation you've been asking for, not butterflies that feel like panic, not intensity that feels like insecurity, but peace that feels like home, and this peace will begin to show up in practical ways too. In timing that works instead of clashes, in communication that feels mutual instead of forced, in emotional availability that doesn't disappear when things get real. Because divine alignment doesn't vanish under pressure, it stabilizes. And here's what you need to hear clearly right now. You did not miss your moment, you did not ruin your chance, and you are not being delayed as punishment. Because God does not withhold love to teach lessons. He delays it to protect hearts, and every closed door, every almost relationship, every false start was steering you away from settling before you were ready to receive what matches your depth. And now that readiness is evident not in excitement, but in discernment, not in longing, but in wholeness, because you no longer need love to complete you, you're inviting it to complement you, and that shift changes everything. Manifestation is responding to that shift right now, rearranging circumstances, dissolving obstacles, and softening timelines. And even if you don't know the details yet, trust that what's aligning will not require you to abandon yourself, shrink your needs, or betray your intuition, because divine love always honors the healed version of you, not the wounded one. And this is why gratitude continues to matter so deeply. Because gratitude keeps your heart open without making it vulnerable to old patterns. It keeps you receptive without being desperate. And as you thank God for what's coming, even before it arrives, you're telling the universe that you're ready to receive love without fear, without suspicion, without armor. God says, I'm restoring trust. Not just trust in others, but trust in yourself, in your judgment, in your emotional instincts, because the next connection will ask you to show up authentically, not guarded, not overthinking, not bracing for disappointment. And that level of presence is only possible when healing is complete, and you are closer to that completion than you realize, because the signs are already there. In how you no longer replay old conversations, in how you don't feel pulled toward emotionally unavailable people, in how peace feels more attractive than passion without stability. And this is the frequency that draws divine union closer, because love that lasts is built on alignment, not adrenaline. Soon, something small will confirm this for you. A conversation, a message, a chance meeting, a sudden clarity that replaces doubt. And when it happens, you'll feel it in your body first, a sense of ease, a quiet yes that doesn't need validation. And God says, that's it. Not loudly, not dramatically, but gently, because sacred things don't need spectacle to be real. And as this part of your journey unfolds, remember this. You are not being tested anymore. You are being rewarded, not because you earned love through suffering, but because you chose healing over bitterness, gratitude over resentment, and faith over fear. And that choice is what qualifies you for what's next, so stay present, stay grounded, stay grateful, because the final blessing and declaration will seal everything you've been preparing for. Take a slow breath right now and stay with this moment, because what's happening here is not just emotional resonance, it's spiritual confirmation. And the reason your heart feels both full and still is because truth has settled where fear used to live, and God is gently closing this chapter with a blessing meant to carry you forward, not backward, because everything you've heard up to this point has been preparing your spirit for this declaration. And now it's time to seal it, because destiny responds when words meet belief, and belief is forming in you right now, quietly but powerfully. God says, this is the season where what you've been praying for begins to recognize you. Not because you chased it, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it through gratitude, patience, and inner healing. And today I declare over you that peace will no longer be temporary in your life. It will become your baseline. Clarity will replace confusion, stability will replace anxiety, and trust will replace fear. Because you are no longer walking blindly. You are being guided intentionally, and even when you don't see the full picture, your next steps will feel right in your spirit before they make sense in your mind, and that's how you'll know it's divine. I declare that emotional heaviness is lifting from your chest, that cycles of overthinking are losing their grip, that late-night doubt is being replaced with quiet assurance, and that the voice of fear that used to question your worth is being drowned out by the steady truth of who God says you are, because you were never broken, only burdened, and burdens are being released now, layer by layer, as you step into this new frequency of trust. I declare that the days ahead will feel lighter, not because life becomes perfect, but because your heart becomes anchored, and anchored hearts don't panic when waves rise, they remain steady, and that steadiness is becoming your strength, guiding your decisions, shaping your relationships, and protecting your peace. And from this place of stability, blessings will begin to flow naturally instead of feeling hard-earned or delayed. Because alignment removes struggle from manifestation. God says, expect confirmation, not always loud, not always dramatic, but consistent, gentle reminders that you are on the right path, through conversations that affirm you, opportunities that fit instead of drain you, timing that feels synchronized instead of chaotic, and emotional connections that feel safe instead of uncertain. And these confirmations will reassure you when old doubts try to resurface, because doubt may visit, but it no longer lives here. I declare that love will meet you at your level of healing, not your past pain, and when it does, it will feel steady, mutual, and emotionally available, not confusing, not hot and cold, not draining, because divine love does not destabilize, it supports. And this love will not ask you to abandon yourself to be chosen, it will choose you as you are, grounded, aware, and whole. And when you recognize it, you'll feel peace first. Excitement second, because peace is the true marker of alignment. I declare that your intuition is sharpening, that discernment is becoming second nature, and that you will no longer need to question whether something is right for you, because your body, spirit, and mind will agree when it is, and disagreement will become your cue to pause, not push, to listen, not force, because God is teaching you to move with wisdom instead of urgency. I declare that gratitude will remain your anchor, keeping you present instead of anxious, hopeful instead of fearful, open instead of guarded. Because gratitude reminds you daily that you are supported even when outcomes are still unfolding. And from this posture, abundance flows. Not just materially, but emotionally, relationally, and spiritually, restoring balance to areas that once felt strained or empty. God says, you are not behind. And this truth needs to settle deeply in your heart, because comparison has stolen enough peace from you, and from this moment forward, you are released from measuring your journey against anyone else's timeline. Because your path is customized, intentional, and protected, and what's arriving for you will not require explanation or apology. It will simply fit. I declare that sleepless nights will become restful, that anxious mornings will become calm beginnings, that emotional triggers will lose their power, and that confidence will grow quietly within you, not as arrogance, but as self-trust rooted in divine guidance. And this confidence will shape how you speak, how you choose, and how you love, creating a ripple effect that blesses not only you, but everyone connected to you. And as this prayer comes to a close, know this deeply. This was not just a message you listened to, it was a moment you aligned with. And alignment changes trajectories, so carry this peace with you, let it guide you through your day, return to gratitude when doubt whispers, and trust that what's meant for you is already finding its way, step by step, moment by moment, because the universe responds to hearts that are ready. And your heart is ready now, more than ever before, and this is only the beginning. If this prayer touched your heart, say amen below, share it with someone who needs peace, and don't forget to subscribe for more blessings.